Bro, it's Hutch, bro. Bro. So it seems that WWE has taken marijuana off of the banned substance list. And all shall rejoice, I guess. But this is a great thing as far as I'm concerned. Thanks for tuning in to today's video. Hutch Henry's here from Demand Lucha. And, I would much rather spend my time with a weed head than a drunk. That's for darn sure. And we all know the stories throughout the 80s and 70s, guys, self-medicating, drinking on the road, somas in the 90s. This is a rough business. It's rough on your body, and everybody self-medicates and pain management, and lots of different guys have lots of different ways of doing it. But I think in the modern age, marijuana is legal here in Canada. A lot of the states in the United States, California, Colorado, Arizona, I believe. I mean, I'm not an expert on where exactly, but a large majority of states, billion-dollar business. They're not stupid. They're realizing the money that's there. You can even go to Mexico now and kind of smoke weed. I wouldn't do it right in front of a cop, but you can buy it. You can get it. Hell, I went to Greece and they were selling it as a souvenir product. Like, you go into the head shops and they don't have any marijuana to buy. You can get like pipes and bongs and papers and things like that. And outside, they'll have a vending machine that sells actual vape cartridges that does have the marijuana oil in it, so you can vape. But if you want flour, like actual to roll weed, I went into a camera store, like a Nikon Canon camera store, and they were selling it as a souvenir product. Like, I had it in a little baggie. It was Cessula. On the back, it said, produced and made in Italy, souvenir product only. And I'm like, what the hell is this about, buddy? Are you selling weed?
On weed?
And yes, he was. Even though he was right next door to the head shop, or in the same little strip mall, underground strip mall I was in, he was selling weed, and he was allowed to as a souvenir product. Now, here's the weird part. You are not allowed to smoke it on the street or out in public. You can smoke it in your house, like in your basement, under a blanket kind of thing. But no, it's legal to smoke inside your home. Problem is, I'm a tourist. I'm spending one day in Athens before heading off to do a tour, and I'm in a hotel room. No balcony, no nothing, just a square box. And he says, oh, here you go. Gives me my receipt. Keep your receipt. He's like, if you walk down the street, you smoke marijuana, and a police officer stops you, you will show them this receipt, and you will say, I bought it here. This proves that you didn't bring it into the country, and this proves that you don't have a place where you can, and then you tell them that you're a tourist, I don't have a place to smoke this. Here's my receipt. I didn't bring it into the country. I bought it here. And they would tell you, go away, put it out, don't do that. But you wouldn't get arrested. So, that's very interesting to me, that you literally hold your receipt for your marijuana, and you're like, I bought it just up the street, I swear, I didn't bring it from the next, country over, which in Europe, the next country over can literally be like a half hour away, or like 10 minutes away, depending on where you're at. So, kind of cool. That was pretty cool. And these, speaking of traveling, these guys, they medicate with marijuana and video games these days, right? Like, that's the way it is. Have you seen AJ Styles' setup on an airplane of his video game? It's like this massive suitcase he opens, and he isolates, and these video games, obviously they're like 20, 30, 40 hour campaigns. You want to spend your time on it. But dude, I would much rather spend my time with a guy who can't wait to get back to playing God of War, and no, I don't need a beer, just leave me alone, stewardess, and just wants to smoke a joint on the weekends. That's the kind of guy I'd rather hang out with than, even when I first got into the wrestling industry, it was on the cusp. There was a lot of older guys hanging around still, and some of these guys, it was like straight to the titty bar, straight to the booze. Like, it was a weird environment at first. It is way cooler now, that's for sure. But speaking of smoking on the weekends and being kind of cool, let's check out Michin. This is actually where I found this out on the Speakeasy podcast, where I think the world found out about it. She might have been the first person to actually kind of let it drop out of her mouth. But pretty cool little podcast here. Let's check out what Michin has to say.
Because I remember the schedules, they used to be worse, right?
Oh my God.
Because I always heard those horror stories.
I'm like, we're very lucky right now that
right?
we actually have time at home. Like, I have time to stream, whereas back then, like when Shelton was in the game back in the day, like he'd be home once a week, maybe.
Damn.
Yeah, maybe.
I heard,
Maybe is crazy once a week.
And that's like not even counting like a whole day. Like, you come home on like a Wednesday, and then you have to leave on a Thursday.
Dude.
So,
and what's the recovery like? Like, you're taking 1 day, 2 day, or the whole weekend? You getting high? Like what are we doing to get back right?
Well.
Oh, are we allowed to?
Yeah, chop it.
I mean, I think it's more because it's more legal. they've kind of accepted it. So before, that used to be like marijuana used to be on like the drug list, and they took that off like, a couple years ago. So when I get home on Saturdays, I'll do that and just chill out all day. And then I get back into the gym like on Sunday through Wednesday. I'll work out, and then maybe two of those days I'll stream just to like just get it out there. But like I go to a chiropractor once a week, cryotherapy once a week, a massage like depending how I feel once or twice a week. So it's a lot of recovery and maintenance, really.
Yeah.
So even like if I feel like if I had a hardcore match on Friday, I'm taking the whole weekend off. So I'll get home Saturday, Sunday. I'm not doing nothing. I'm just gonna like rest and maybe do like cryotherapy or a cold plunge or something. But no working out, no nothing, and then get back to it on Monday.
Damn.
So I may have heard of this speakeasy podcast before. We've all heard the term speakeasy before, but I don't think I've specifically heard this podcast. But these guys seem pretty cool. Michin had a fun time, but they don't seem to know a ton about wrestling. They're obviously wrestling fans, but they don't seem to really be in the know. Some of the terms that Michin used, they asked her to clarify, or, what does that mean? But that's kind of cool. You don't have some know-it-all wrestling fan interviewing you, so, you're in a position, position of power. You're in a position of being able to inform them and feel informative, feel like a good interviewee, because you have lots to say. And they're like interested, like, oh, that's cool, well, as opposed to some know-it-all mark that's asking you questions about that time that you fought Chelsea Green and what exactly happened there, and the rumor is blah blah blah. Although big time wrestling fans can come with deep and hard-hitting questions about the early career path forward. So, I'm not trying to be negative, but I think I'm going to go back and watch this entire podcast. I only listened to about 25 minutes, a half hour of it. And put Michin in a better light for me. I don't know her personally, but I know quite a few people who do know her. And it's nice to see a little bit of the behind scenes of what she's like as a person. And speaking about being high, why is everybody up in arms about the ring for AEW's Grand Slam Australia? The fact that it was 18 by 18 is not that big of a deal. I think this was a really great show top to bottom, and people were not expecting it, especially with all tag team matches and no major title matches, although Toni Storm did win in the end, and that was expected as well, so it was a little bit predictable. But in the end run, it was a fabulous show, and people are looking for something to gripe about. But an 18 by 18 ring is not that unusual for AEW. Anytime they've had a cage match on the show, you'll notice they use an 18 by 18 for that entire show. But it doesn't look out of place with their usual setups. I think the concern from fans is that because there was a lot of space around ringside, and because this was a ring they got from somebody locally in Australia, and they say that Kyle Fletcher had to call them last minute to get it, and it looked a little shabby, people are worried about balls being dropped at AEW, about logistics hampering the company because things aren't being taken care of properly. But supposedly Tony Khan and people have come out and squashed this, and that was the plan the whole time, was working with these people. But with so much space at ringside, people assume they had designed the setup for the 20 by 20 and then had to go to the 18. But, renting somebody's ring when you go somewhere out of your local area is not unheard of at all. We do it all the time. But this ring didn't look that great. But people are just looking for something to gripe about, I think. But in general, I think the gripes about the ring are because people are worried that AEW drops balls. I mean, we've seen how they've treated Miro and Ricky Starks and Malachi Black and all the recent releases and Ray Phoenix and things like that. And it seems that Tony Khan might take things personally. And, this might all be part and parcel of what is going on back there sometimes. People know what wrestling companies usually act like, how they usually treat stars and staff and signed talent, as well as how they act when they're on tour, and AEW sometimes goes outside of that mold. So people are wondering, is this by design? Do you know what you're doing? What the hell's going on? And those questions, when you have such a big community like the IWC with smarks and people that are really interested in this, they want to know. If the NFL or MLB started doing weird things, like using non-regulation size, stadiums or fields for baseball, or maybe bases or anything you can think of, people would start questioning it. So this is where that comes from. And the questions would, if they knew more about the company or the personalities behind it, the questions might not just be what's going on with this company. They might say what's going on with the people at this company. So I think that's where this kind of concern about the ring comes from. Everybody's looking to nitpick AEW because, dude, you got Tony Khan like hugging guys at press conferences and stuff. Like, it's a different atmosphere over there. And, you've got guys wanting to leave after some of them desperately wanting to go there. Others having no choice because they got let go by Vince, and Triple H is saying like, hey, come back. The grass is greener now. But in general, the fact that they're like, yeah, I want to go. I'm getting paid more here, but man, I want to go. That says something, right? And in fact, that kind of political stuff and backstage stuff is pretty much the crux of what I actually wanted to talk about here today, which is Megan Bayne. No-selling Thunder Rosa and her run-in with the chair. Like, basically made this the worst run-in of all time and completely buried Thunder Rosa. I mean, you want to take an old school mentality after a couple of her just standing there and absolutely no selling anything. You should have just waffled her with the chair. I mean, you want to make me look bad on national TV? And this is not a company that has been easy for Thunder Rosa ever since she had her injury and her issues with Britt Baker. And now recently going out on Busted Open Radio and congratulating Ricky Saints, and her relationship with Dustin Rhodes, who's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I think this same political backstage stuff I was talking about and Tony Khan taking things personally, this is affecting Thunder Rosa. So who knows if Megan Bayne was told to do this? This might have been instructions. And Penelope Ford getting in between there, and man, her having to like pretend to swing it and then back off, and then the fight over the chair. I mean, all of this made Thunder Rosa look like shit. And some people are saying that it might have been orders from Tony. Some people are saying that it was the referee was supposed to get in between, but he rolled out of the ring early and forgot, or maybe there was miscommunication, or there is a laundry list of people who have reasons of what could have happened. But if you look here on the Twitter machine, a lot of people are saying Megan Bayne might have gone into business for herself. I mean, she is a beautiful woman, great gear, tall, works crisp, is doing great, and she might know it. She might be someone that has an attitude. And this is a company where people seem to be really into themselves. I know that might sound weird, but I feel like egos get stroked at AEW. And you get told, hey, you're really great. You're really great. Don't listen to them. Like, it has a bit of that WCW mentality. If you listen to the old Goldberg stories where everybody was in his ear, like, that might be happening here. But I'm not looking to like talk shit about what's going on backstage, but this was not cool, period. I mean, if you didn't talk to her back, I would have gone backstage, waffle her with the chair backstage, something. You better get in a fight. I know she's bigger than you in real life. Wrestling's fake, but girl, like, take this bitch down and peg, because that was bullshit. Unless they're turning this into a story where she's not afraid of anything and no-sell stuff, like, I don't know. But she should have got waffled with that chair right in the head. Like, nice headgear, nice outfit, nice entrance gear. Whack! Crush it, destroy it. Like Megatron crushing the crown after killing Starscream. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Destroy that crap. If this was in any fashion on orders from Tony Khan, then that's unfortunate. But, a lot of people say that Tony Khan is buying his toys, and you buy toys because you want them to do as they're told. Like they say, when the muscle starts thinking it's the brains, it's time to amputate. And perhaps Tony's like, I don't like this toy anymore. When I wind it up, it doesn't act the way I like anymore. Let's put it in the closet for a while. Let's get rid of it. And that would be unfortunate for Thunder Rosa. I mean, there was that sandbagging issue once that she had. I think it was going on with Britt Baker, and how many times she had to rear back here and no flinch at all from Megan Bayne. And I can understand if you want to be like, I'm invincible, I don't flinch. But bottom line is, this made Thunder Rosa look like absolute dog shit, and it is not fair, and it's not professional. There's no way that any vets or someone like Jim Cornette is not going to look at this and flip out. I mean, this is why Santino and Cornette have heat, is over shit like this. And it's a bit different. Santino's with his family and laughing, but Cornette took it personally that way. And this is way, way more blatant and on national TV. It's not some OVW show in front of like 50 people. Like, this is not cool. Sorry, Cornette. There was probably like a couple hundred people there. And speaking of which, I mean, Thunder Rosa was trained at OVW, not the Cornette era, but the Al Snow era. Al Snow's old school. I'm sure he would look at this and, probably behind closed doors, or the old school Al Snow that he is, he's like, you should have waffled her with the damn chair. And I'm not, as a promoter, I'm not in support of my workers going into business for themselves. And I'm certainly not into promoting my workers hurting each other in the ring, but this is a way, way bigger level above me. And sometimes people play around, and you know what they say about F around and find out. Maybe Megan Bayne should have found out, and she might. But maybe Thunder Rosa is going to find out. She might have made some powerful enemies in this company. Who knows? As a former AEW World Women's Champion, she is not looking great here at all. Backstage is very important. You spend 80-90% of your career backstage, and being liked is a big part of your career. I mean, whether fans like you or not is important. Fans don't like heels they don't like, the X-Pac heat, as they call it. Even if you're a big-time asshole heel, the fans like you as that heel. I mean, heels that people don't like, they have a rough time getting over sometimes with the crowds. You know, Roman Reigns had a hard road to hoe with the way they presented him, you know? And fans don't like you, so it doesn't matter whether you're presented as a babyface or heel. If they don't like you, they don't like you. But backstage is even more important. That's why Big Boss Man Ray Traylor was always around, and they brought him back to WWE. People loved Ray. That's why he was always involved in things. Guys who are around in the business for a long time, where you wonder to yourself, why is this guy still around? Why is this guy wrestling? Why is he backstage? Why he's been there forever? It's because people like them. People like Michael P.S. Hayes. That's why he's around. Sure, he's a goof, he's a huge personality and all that stuff, but people like him. He's probably genuine, and that's what matters. So Thunder Rosa, maybe she's genuine in a place where people don't appreciate that, or maybe she's causing trouble, because it does seem to follow her to some degree. If you're always at the center of this, sure, maybe you are paranoid for a good reason. Maybe everybody is after you, but a lot of times you got to step back and be like, all right, what's the common denominator here? So hopefully it's not Thunder Rosa shooting herself in her own foot. I'm sure somebody is going to address this in some fashion soon publicly, perhaps on social media, and we'll see what all the scuttlebutt is about for real. But speaking of scuttlebutt, Josh Alexander has signed with AEW. Or wait, do we have an official? Here we go. Oh, Josh Alexander is All Elite. Like, this has to be fake. Look at that font. That looks a bit suspect. I'm wondering. Here we go. Oh, Josh Alexander is expected to sign with All Elite Wrestling. There we go. And if that is the case, congratulations, Josh. I'm sure he wants a nice fat paycheck. He's been doing this a long time. He suffered through a lot of injuries. And looking at WWE and AEW, he's probably saying to himself, hey, you know, I'm not the best promo in the world. Maybe I'm not the biggest charisma personality in the world, but I am one of the best wrestlers in the world. And that's what AEW says, right? They say this is where the best wrestle. Let's see, what does this guy say here? Just being a good wrestler isn't going to get you far. I said before, and I'll say again, Josh Alexander destroyed his career and momentum signing with AEW. None of these sickos will convince me otherwise. Well, this sicko here is saying when it comes to Josh Alexander signing with AEW, even though I don't believe AEW will book him well at all, I totally understand why he signed with AEW. Josh is not good with promos, charisma, or personality. Damn, that's harsh. But he's a damn great wrestler. AEW fits him perfectly. I guess, do I feel like I said it softer just now when I said it? Maybe I feel like I did. Perhaps I didn't. But it looks like other people have this mentality. But I think Josh can be great at charisma and promos if he's properly, given a lot more time and training. It's like, you need training to be able to talk. It sounds weird. But the truth is he's one of the best wrestlers of all time. But a lot of people think this might be a weak point for him. And it may be, in my opinion, a little bit deeper than that, though, with WWE. Here, some fans are saying, WWE fans and podcasters when they sign Ricky Miro, Aleister Black. Yay! WWE fans and podcasters when Josh Alexander signs with AEW. No! And there you go. People want him in the WWE. People want to see him in WWE. They want to see him in NXT. They want to see him go and join Ethan Page or feud with him, or, is he going to turn heel, or is Ethan going to turn face, or whatever could happen. But really, AEW is the place for him. Josh wants some money right now. He's been like 4 years behind Ethan in almost all of these moves, and it's unfortunate. It's probably due to past injuries. But he's looking to make some money. Go down there. You move down to the Florida area. You're going to be near WWE's training areas anyways. Get yourself a 4-year contract and make some good money. But if he goes to AEW now, make some good money, gets himself a house, gets himself a nest egg. I mean, yes, he was with TNA for a long time, but they don't pay the best. When Scott D'Amore handed him that contract in the Destiny ring in Mississauga here in Canada, and he started crying, and he got his US visa officially, no more having to probably sneak over for your AAW shows or things like that. Like, this was a big deal for Josh. And Von Vertigo, a local wrestler here, has just gotten his US visa after working in the UK and Europe and Canada all the time. Like, this is a big deal for wrestlers, being able to work in the most lucrative wrestling market in the world and being able to do it legally. So that was huge for him, but it didn't pay the way he wants it to. He wants to go to AEW and he wants to make that big money. And if he signs a 4-year contract, doesn't get used the best, has some great matches, he can appear at WWE and do like a Kevin Owens kind of thing, like they did with Sami Zayn. If Ethan Page has moved up the roster, is a champion, is on the main roster, I mean, or he can always show up and be that foil for him and jump right into the main event scene or right up to a higher level and then prove himself right away. So I think this is a great move for Josh. Go make that money, boy. But one thing that people aren't talking about is the fact that Josh went through a lot of injuries. 2 possible neck breaks earlier in his career. One of them ended up being not as bad as they thought at all. In fact, it might not have, I don't know the details, but I don't think it was actually a neck break. And he ended up coming back. It was misdiagnosed, but then he did end up seriously hurting himself. And he had his ear issues at first, these huge hematomas. But basically his entire career like flashed before his eyes. He thought it was over. And him coming back was great. When he reappeared in the local area here, people went completely nuts. But the scuttlebutt around here is when he was going down to WWE for tryouts and things like that, like his neck was an issue for them. Like the previous injuries were the reason why they weren't going to give him a contract. And they were a lot stricter with that in the Vince McMahon era. I think Triple H has softened on that. Everybody gets more recovery time, more time at home, like Michin was talking about earlier. So it's a different atmosphere altogether. CM Punk has also mentioned that, you know, he's not worried about getting the kind of infections and the kind of treatment that he was getting in the past. So perhaps they're willing to take a chance on wrestlers. Plus, even in the last decade, technology and health technology has come a long way as far as being able to take care of yourself. I mean, Sheamus has had this spinal stenosis for like 10 years or more diagnosed, and he's still wrestling. And this was the kind of thing that was taking guys out before, like, you're done. So therapy has come a long way. But this was a big deal. Like, bottom line, WWE didn't want Josh before. And you know, that's why when he got injured, I think Torres Peck had to give away the TNA championship. They gave it to Macklin. When he came back, he signed a second contract with TNA, and I think it's WWE still might not have wanted him, or in the past they didn't. You know, once bitten, twice shy. Maybe he didn't even go down there. I don't know the details. And yes, Josh is very, very good friends with Scott D'Amore. I mean, they spent Christmases together recently, like Giselle and Scott, and you see pictures with Jade and Josh and their kid, and they are very good friends. But this is also another reason. Scott D'Amore is a very wealthy man. And I'm sure Josh is like, yo, I want some of that like money. I'm getting an AEW contract, and I'm going to get some goddamn money in my life. Because it's hard to, you know, it's not just keeping up with the Joneses. Like, you want to be at a similar level to the people that you hang out with. So, you know, everybody wants that money, wants that nest egg, and you can't wrestle forever. So go get that AEW money, Josh. But yes, around here, people will tell you that Josh was directly denied by WWE because of his past injuries. If anybody out there has the opposite to say about that or wants to dispute it, please say so in the comment, contact me, we'll talk about it. Some guys are saying what a great way to debut at AEW would be to win the international title and then show up at AEW and then be like, well, we're going to sign you to a contract since you're the champion. And that could be a whole storyline like, no, I'm going to go around the world with it. Like, show up at some New Japan shows or CMML or the affiliates that they're working with, AEW is working with. But I don't think this is going to happen. It would be totally cool, though. A way to debut a star would be to have them win your championship, and then you have to start booking them and bringing them in. And eventually you will talk them into signing a contract. Like, that'd be a cool angle. You know, and if he's going to work with AEW, he'll probably get a chance, like I was saying, to work with New Japan and CMML. I know New Japan loves Josh Alexander, and I would love to see him over there a lot more instead of just working the New Japan US shows. You know, Canadian strong style, they love their strong style, and Josh Alexander would fit in like a glove over there, so I'd love to see some of those matches. Josh hits hard, so they love him over there at New Japan. But speaking of New Japan, we'll end off today with Hiroki Goto. If you don't know who Hiroki Goto is, he has finally done it. He has done it. Big Kevin Kelly call there. I miss Kevin Kelly. It's too bad what's going on with him there. He was great for the New Japan stuff. But Hiroki Goto has defeated Zack Sabre Jr. with back-to-back GTRs to become the 10th IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. And this is a big deal for Goto. He was the guy working all those awful Impact matches at the Wrestle Kingdom shows, and He's been a real underdog. He came up during the time where there was Okada and Naito coming back with his Ingobernables persona that kept everybody going, and Tanahashi the ace, and of course, super cool Shinsuke Nakamura. Like, it was tough for Goto to get ahead, even though he was a part of that those young boy groups around that time. I'm not sure if it was the same one or just before or just after. And he's tagged up with Yoshihashi, who has always been a little bit of a joke in the industry and had to really fight for his respect. And, this guy was at the never open weight level. I think he might have had the IC title before, but Goto winning now, and the story behind it, and his kids being there, and how long he's toiled, and he has some of the best music in the company, and people love this guy, and he always has great matches, but he's always the guy who just doesn't win. He's like the Dolph Ziggler of the company. But New Japan, unlike America, in America, when guys lose too often, they lose luster. But in Japan, they are better than anybody at making you root for a guy the more he loses. They lose and they lose and they almost win and lose and almost win and almost lose, and then they finally win and you're like, yeah, you're so behind them. Like, New Japan does that great with their young boy system and bringing guys up, and that's why, I actually think they're going to do really well in the next few years, even though they've lost all their biggest stars, because the way they do their young boy system, you can push guys up quick. I mean, Tanahashi and Nakamura being really young stars that won the title early and shocked people. It worked out very well for them, out of necessity. And it worked. And they're doing it now, and Goto is a great choice, and man, he looks great with that belt on right there. But what they did with Honma, like Tokiaki Honma and his Kokeshi headbutt, is like he's wearing a Michael Keaton Batman suit all the time. I mean, this guy can't even move his neck at all. He moves his entire torso when he has to move his neck. But they still put him in the ring, and he was doing a lot of undercard stuff, but he would always miss his headbutt. Always 18 months, 2 years straight, missing his headbutt every single time. And when he finally hit that headbutt, man, they popped hard. And it was like a Kofi Kingston thing. Like, they built that into pushing him forward into winning the tag league that year and getting the tag titles, bringing back Great Bash Heel. Like, it was kind of awesome. And Goto is going to fit in perfectly here as the champ that toiled forever. Like, nowhere else other than Japanese wrestling can you be perceived as tougher as you get older. Like, more grizzled, a better wrestler, the more broken bones and orbital sockets and beaten down your body is, and the older you are, somehow they see you as tougher, and you're able to, they do not dispute 50-year-old guys beating 20-year-old guys over and over and over until the 20-year-old guy is almost 30 and the 56-year-old guy finally loses and everybody's like, yeah, and then they kind of transition. Tanahashi, like the recent transition on his final tour here. But speaking of final, if you're still here, you're listening, please subscribe, follow, give us a like. I am off right now to my Demand Lucha show this evening. By the time this is up on the internet, that show will be long over. But hopefully I will see some of you guys tonight. But if not, please like, subscribe, follow us here. I really appreciate it. Comment if you disagree with anything I'm saying. The algorithm loves that. You're like, oh, if I disagree with you, why would I want to help you? But hey, come on. If you're my heel, we got to work together if we're going to have a good match. So comment below. And thanks so much for watching the video.